All right, 6 a.m. Saturday morning. I'm standing in my own driveway in flip-flops, holding a coffee mug that says, "World's Best Dad," a gift from my 16-year-old. Maya, when two police cruisers roll up with lights blazing. It was like a scene out of a bad movie, but starring me, in my quiet little suburb of Oakwood Ridge. My neighbor, Priscilla Stone, she's out on her porch, screaming into her phone like she was testifying at the UN. "Yes, he's still there! Arrest him! He's been illegally parking for months, and you people do absolutely nothing." The two patrol officers looked at me, then they looked at my Ford F-250, a beast of a truck, admittedly parked perfectly perpendicular inside my driveway, a driveway I bought and paid cash for 7 months ago. One of the officers, a young guy named Officer Chen, just sighed, deep and weary, like he was a veteran of the neighborhood war. Here's the thing Priscilla, bless her suburban heart, didn't know. For 3 months, this woman had been sending anonymous, venomous complaints about me, calling me a rogue security officer, demanding I be investigated and fired, to the federal defense installation, Site Alpha, where I supposedly worked. She had no idea I was Colonel Elias Vance, the installation commander, her boss's 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 boss. And this morning, watching her make a spectacle of herself, I realized she had just sealed her own fate. Drop a comment right now if you've ever had a neighbor so absolutely unhinged they called the police on you for literally nothing. Let's see how truly global this special brand of crazy is. It all started just days after Maya and I moved in. I found a note on my windshield, printed on thick, embossed linen paper, the kind of stationery you use to announce a black tie event, not to deliver a parking violation. It quoted a non-existent Oakwood Ridge Covenants Code 14D, demanding my vehicle be moved at least 12 inches from the curb line because it obstructed the view. I crumpled it up. It was a joke, right? Parked entirely on my own property, mind you, a property I'd bought as a sanctuary for my family. The next day, a township zoning inspector showed up. He looked miserable, like he'd drawn the short straw on a Friday afternoon. He measured my driveway, shook his head, and mumbled, "Sir, you are completely fine. This is private property. You could park a tank here legally?" Then he lowered his voice, almost whispering, "That woman next door, Priscilla Stone, she's done this to 3 families in 4 years. 2 of them actually moved. She weaponizes bureaucracy." That's when I knew I wasn't dealing with a simple busybody. I was dealing with a systemic problem. Let me introduce myself properly. I'm Colonel Elias Vance, 49, U.S. Space Force, 25 years of service. 7 months ago, I took command of Site Alpha, a sprawling facility responsible for 15,000 personnel, military and civilian. It's like being the mayor of a high-tech, highly classified city. I chose to live off base. After my wife, Sarah, passed away 2 years ago, I just wanted a normal, quiet place where Maya could finish high school without the constant pressure of the commander's daughter. Maplewood Drive was supposed to be the end of our moving cycle, and then there was Priscilla. Mid-50s, hair like a helmet molded out of epoxy, driving a pristine silver sedan. She works part-time at the installation cafeteria as a food server, which is a detail that becomes hilariously, tragically relevant later on. She appointed herself the unofficial HOA, despite the fact that there is no actual HOA. Just Priscilla, her smartphone camera, and an iron conviction that she was the last defense against declining neighborhood standards. I met her on day 1, unloading boxes. She approached my property line like it was a fortified border. "Welcome to Maplewood Drive," she said, her eyes scanning my truck with suspicion. "We maintain very high standards here." I smiled, shook her hand, made small talk. "I've negotiated with foreign heads of state. Surely I could handle 1 suburban sentinel." Narrator voice. He could not. That initial parking note was just the appetizer. Next, she fixated on my trash bins. Township rules. Bins off the curb by 7 p.m. on collection day. Reasonable. One Thursday, I got home at 6:55 p.m., rolled the bins in, helped Maya with her physics homework. The next morning, certified mail, requiring my signature. Inside was a formal complaint with 3 attached photographs of my bins. Timestamped 7:03 p.m., 7:05 p.m., and 7:07 p.m. She'd been out there, documenting my trash like a forensic photographer. That's when I activated my inner military intelligence officer. I set up an electronic filing system archiving everything. Then I noticed Priscilla's bins were off and out until 9:30 p.m. So I did exactly what she did. Time-stamped photos submitted to the township. 2 weeks later, I got a form letter back. Thank you for your concern. We will investigate. No fine for her. The system was trained to appease her, not to enforce the rules fairly. Fine. I started keeping detailed records. Then came the angling issue. I angle my truck slightly in the driveway. Easier to pull out, better visibility. One morning, another note, this time with an official police report number. I called the precinct. Yes, sir, the dispatcher groaned. Complaint filed that your vehicle blocks sight lines and creates reckless endangerment. My truck is 40 feet from hers. Officer Chen and his partner showed up. Chen recognized the address immediately. Colonel, actually, sir, Elias is fine, he said, and his eyebrows definitely went up when I said Colonel. Look, you're completely legal. It's your property. But maybe just park it straight to save us both the trip? I kept my tone even. Officer, I appreciate your time, but I will park however I choose on my own private property. He nodded, a flicker of respect in his eyes. Understood, sir. Have a good day. I did what I should have done week 1. Faux IA request. $15. 10 days later, I was looking at 85 pages of pure, unadulterated insanity. Priscilla had filed 55 complaints in 2 years. Noise violations, tree trimming violations, even aggressive dog complaints against a fluffy golden doodle. I remembered a training from my legal days. Patterns of false reports aren't just annoying, they are a prosecutable form of harassment. I filed my own report with the precinct, documenting her pattern. Lieutenant Hayes called me back. Colonel Vance, we are aware of Mrs. Stone, very aware. But until she crosses a specific legal line, our hands are tied. I just needed it on record, I told him. He called me smart. Very smart. Maya walked in, listening. Dad, why don't you just tell her you're the base commander? She works there. She'd stop. I thought about it. One sentence could end this. Priscilla, I am your boss's ultimate boss. Back off. But it felt wrong. It felt like cheating, using an airstrike on a simple ground skirmish. I wanted to win this as Elias Vance, the citizen, not as Colonel Vance, the commander. Plus, honestly, I was morbidly curious how far she would push before reality finally caught up. Week 7, Maya's 17th birthday. Pizza, cake, friends. Normal. The next morning, I stepped outside and froze. An orange traffic cone sat at the end of my driveway, laminated note attached. By order of the Maplewood Safety Committee, driveway access is restricted during community events. Cone must remain in place. There was no community event. There was no committee. She manufactured both. 10 minutes later, the cruisers returned. She'd called 911 about me tampering with safety equipment. Officer Chen looked like he was contemplating early retirement. His partner, Officer Davies, a grizzled veteran, stepped close. He handed me a business card scribbled on the back, CYA. Document everything, Colonel. Photos, timestamps, witnesses. You're going to need it. I took his advice. I filed a formal harassment complaint. I also checked county statutes. Our county had a rarely used chronic complainer ordinance. People who abuse 911 could be fined and restricted to only written complaints. Lieutenant Hayes told me he'd been trying to build a case against her for months. With my formal complaint and meticulous documentation, we might finally have enough, Colonel. Then Priscilla went political. She petitioned the Township Council to create a permit parking enforcement zone on our street, which would force everyone to buy $150 annual permits just to park on their own land. I showed up at the meeting in jeans and a flannel shirt. Just another concerned taxpayer. Priscilla presented a PowerPoint with a laser pointer, slide after slide of my truck parked legally in my driveway, taken from different angles like surveillance footage. Councilwoman Brooks, a sharp woman in her 60s, leaned forward. Mrs. Stone, is this vehicle parked on a public street or private property? Priscilla faltered. Technically private, but the impact... Brooks cut her off, smiling without warmth. Petition tabled. Insufficient evidence of public safety impact. Outside, Brooks found me. "Colonel Vance, I'm Master Sergeant Brooks, retired Army Logistics. She doesn't know who you are, does she?" I shook my head. Brooks laughed, a deep, satisfying sound. "Just so you know, off-duty conduct standards apply, especially harassment of command personnel. Call if you need backup. We vets stick together. She was building my case for me, one insane act at a time." The final morning, the moment from the beginning. Priscilla was on her porch, lights flashing, screaming about emergency access violation. Officer Chen, his patience utterly depleted, snapped. "Ma'am, I am issuing a warning for misuse of 911. You have filed 55 unfounded complaints in 2 years. Continued false reports will result in criminal charges." She sputtered and stormed inside. I checked my phone. Email from Site Alpha Security. Time-stamped 05:45 a.m. "Sir, civilian called front gate demanding to speak with the CO about a rogue officer at your address. Verbally abusive when told to file a written complaint." I forwarded it to my executive officer with one word: affirmative. Then came the certified letter from her lawyer. 3 pages of legal nonsense, demanding $5,000 for emotional distress and threatening to escalate this to your military chain of command. I laughed out loud. I called my judge advocate general, Captain Ortiz. Yale Law, chose military service over 7 figures a year. I emailed her the letter. 60 seconds later, she snorted. "Sir, this is legally frivolous. Want me to write a response that makes her attorney regret law school?" I told her, not yet. I want her to show me her full hand first. I finally pulled her employment file. As installation commander, I had cause. Priscilla Stone, GS4, cafeteria server, multiple customer complaints. Most recent, she'd told a pregnant Marine captain's wife she was abusing her maternity benefits. Building a termination case was underway, but HR was slow. The power dynamic hadn't just shifted. It had inverted completely. I had the full weight of the U.S. Code and the Department of Defense behind me while she was harassing her ultimate boss. But I still wasn't ready to drop the hammer of rank. I wanted consequences, not just a tactical win. Then came the red line. 10:00 a.m. A social worker from Child Protective Services knocked on my door. "Colonel Vance, we received an anonymous report alleging neglect, unsafe conditions, and an unstable veteran parent." Everything went cold. "Harass me? Fine. Vandalize property? Charges filed. Weaponize child welfare against my daughter?" The gloves came off. The social worker, Kim, quickly closed the case, noting it as clearly retaliatory and malicious. She said false CPS reports were a felony in this state. I called Captain Ortiz and told her to add everything to the court filing. No mercy. "Captain, Priscilla's attorney received our petition. 92 pages, indexed, tabbed like a military operations order. Devastating." She responded by filing her own restraining order against me, alleging I used military connections to intimidate. 3 pages of paranoid accusations, 0 evidence. The hearing was scheduled for the next morning. I laid out my dress blues, the brass polished, the silver eagles shining, the uniform I'd earned over 25 years, county courthouse. 9:00 a.m. I walked in my Class A dress blues, full ribbons, and my colonel's eagles. Maya walked beside me. Behind us, 6 neighbors, Officer Chen, Lieutenant Hayes, the social worker Kim, Master Sergeant Brooks. Priscilla was sitting with her lawyer. When she saw the uniform, her face went ash white, then eggplant red, then back to a sickly white. She grabbed her attorney's arm, whispering frantically. The lawyer just stared at my rank insignia and visibly paled. Judge Vance entered. "We have 2 cross petitions for restraining orders. Mrs. Stone's attorney first." Priscilla's lawyer stood, listing grievances weakly. Judge Vance cut him off. "Any photos, recordings, witnesses to this harassment?" "Potential witnesses were intimidated," the lawyer mumbled. "So no. Colonel Vance," the judge said. I stood. "Your Honor, I am Colonel Elias Vance, installation commander at Site Alpha. Mrs. Stone has harassed me and my daughter for 7 months. 55 false police reports, 6 fraudulent inspector general complaints, mail fraud, vandalism, doxing, and a false CPS report." I handed over the binder. Judge Vance read for 2 minutes. her eyebrows climbing higher with every page. Mrs. Stone, you filed 55 police calls. He violates codes constantly. Priscilla shouted, "Sit until addressed." The judge turned to the IG complaints. Mrs. Stone, did you file 6 Inspector General complaints about Colonel Vance? Yes, someone had to. Were you aware he is the installation commander at the base where you work? Silence. Priscilla's mouth opened and closed, no sound coming out. He is your ultimate supervisor, the judge continued, turning pages. You filed complaints to his own command without checking basic facts. She turned to the CPS report. Did you file a false report targeting his child? Kim, the social worker, stood. Your Honor, clearly retaliatory. The child is well cared for. This was deliberate system abuse. Judge Vance closed the binder with a sharp slap. I am granting Colonel Vance's restraining order. Mrs. Stone, no contact with him or his daughter. Stay 100 yards from his property. Violation means arrest. That's unfair. He set me up. Priscilla sobbed. He documented your behavior, the judge stated, her voice firm. You made choices for 7 months. He used proper civilian channels instead of abusing military authority. You should have shown similar judgment. She looked at the DA. Refer for criminal charges. False reports, mail fraud, false CPS report, harassment. Notify U.S. Attorney about federal charges for IG abuse. And then, to Priscilla. Your employment status is now between you and your employer. Colonel Vance will be reviewed per DOD regulations. Everyone understood. Termination. I looked at Priscilla. You didn't ask, I said quietly. You assumed. 55 false accusations and you targeted my daughter. That's unforgivable. We walked out. Officer Chen passed me, nodding with profound respect. Master Sergeant Brooks gave me a wide, mischievous grin. I drove home to our home, the one no one would ever chase us from again. I parked my truck at an angle in my driveway, just because I could. 3 weeks later, the consequences landed. Priscilla was terminated from the installation cafeteria. She took a plea deal on the criminal charges: community service, fine, anger management. She sold her house and moved 2 towns over, reportedly telling people she was forced out by military corruption. Some people never learn, but 6 families found their voices. We started the Oakwood Good Neighbor Fund, a community resource to help families facing harassment, providing free legal consultations and documentation workshops. That's the real win. Justice worked, but only because I put in the work. So, here's my question for you. Do you think I should have told Priscilla I was the base commander on day 1 just to shut it down instantly? Or was it right to let her hang herself with her own rope using proper channels? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to hear how I used my command influence to handle a corrupt defense contractor who thought he could stiff a crew of retired veterans involving a crane and a highly uncomfortable city council meeting, hit subscribe. Justice stories every week. The underdog doesn't always have to lose. See you next time.
Welcome to HOA Stories, where inspiration transforms into life strength. These are not just stories. They are your daily dose of spiritual medicine. HOA. HOA. Stories Bowl. We curate their resonant journeys, profound lessons, and extraordinary victories from around the world. Each video is meticulously designed to uplift your spirit, ignite your passion, and provide the most practical insights for your breakthrough development. Whether you are overcoming adversity, pursuing a big dream, or simply need a kind act to restore your faith in life, we are here to affirm. Every challenge contains a lesson, and every limit can be broken. Don't just watch. Take action. Join us in exploring and enriching your life. Today, hit subscribe and turn on notifications to receive a daily source of inspiration and motivation.